Very well. I know what happened.
You do?
And furthermore, I'm going to tell you exactly how it happened. At the start of the evening, Yvette was in there by herself, waiting to offer you all a glass of champagne. I was in the hall. I know because I was there. Then I went down the hall to the kitchen to see the cook, who was very much alive, sharpening the knives and preparing for dinner. Then the doorbell rang, and it was you!
Yes.
I recognized you as Colonel Mustard, and I took your coat, and I prevented you from telling me your real name because I didn't want anyone to use any name other than their pseudonym. And then I led you across to the library, where Yvette met you, and smiled, and poured you a drink. And then the doorbell rang again, and it was Mrs. White, looking pale and tragic. And I told her she was expected, and I took her coat, and I brought you to the library, where I introduced you to Colonel Mustard, hello, hello, and I noticed that Mrs. White and Yvette flinched.
Well, then what?
Then there was a rumble of thunder and a crash of lightning, and to make a long story short...
Too late!
One by one you all arrived. Mrs. Peacock shook hands with Yvette and Colonel Mustard, and Mr. Green was offered champagne by Yvette. And Professor Plum and Miss Scarlet arrived together, and you were all introduced, and then the gong was struck by the cook, and we all made into the study. There was one unclaimed glass of champagne, and... I'm telling you as fast as we can. Anyway, I revealed that we'd all received a letter, and you had a letter, and you had a letter, and you had a letter.
Get on with it!
The point is blackmail!
This came out in the study after you revealed all that.
Yes! You stood by the desk, and you sat next to it.
Get on with it!
The point is, Mr. Bobby went into the hall, got his surprise presents, and one by one you all opened them. Miss Scarlet got a candlestick, and Mr. Green got a lead pipe, and Colonel Mustard got a wrench, and Mrs. White got a rope, and Miss Peacock got a dagger, and Professor Plum got a gun. Then, Mr. Body switched out the lights.
Grand.
Yes, Mr. Body lay on the floor, apparently dead.
It was, I examined him.
But why was he struck in the head with the candlestick a few moments later if he were dead already?
Well, how should I know?
So,
You made a mistake!
I did not.
well, you didn't make a mistake, you were lying, which looks very bad for you.
All right, I made a mistake.
Right, but if so, why was Mr. Body pretending to be dead? It could only be because he realized his scheme had misfired and that the bullet was intended to kill him and not me. I noticed when we were all examining the body that the bullet grazed his ear. Clearly, his best hope of escaping death was to pretend to be dead already.
So who was ever trying to grab the gun from me in the dark was trying to kill him.
But remember what happened next. Mrs. Peacock took a drink. You said maybe it's poison. She screams, "Ah!" and drops the glass. We took her over to the sofa. Miss Peacock still screaming. Mr. Green would have slapped her face. Well, I had to stop her screaming. Then, more screaming. Yvette from the game room. Yvette screamed and Mr. Green screamed. And Colonel Mustard slapped him. Oh, yes. Oh, ah! Yvette still screamed. We went to the door, and it was locked. So we knocked, and Yvette screamed, and we rattled and pounded. Then, hello, yahoo! And Yvette opened the door, and we all rushed in. But one of us wasn't there. No.
No?
No! What if one of us was murdering the cook? Who wasn't there with us?
Do you know?
I do. Well, we were in the game room trying to stop the event from panicking. One of us could stay behind in the study, picked up the dagger, ran down the hall, and stabbed the cook.
Oh, but how could he risk it? We might have seen him running back.
Not if he used this secret passage. And the murderer went back down the secret passage into the study.
Oh, is that where it comes out?
Yes.
What?
How did you know about it?
I've known all along. This house belongs to a friend of mine.
So you could be the murderer. Oh boy, oh boy.
Don't be ridiculous. If I was the murderer, why would I reveal to you all how I did it?
But who else knew about the secret passage?
We found it, Colonel Mustard and me.
Well, you found it. You could have known about it all the time.
But I didn't. Why should we believe you?
Because she was definitely with us in the game room when Yvette was panicking. Don't you remember?
That's true.
But what I don't understand is why was the cook murdered? She had nothing to do with Mr. Body.
Of course she had. I gathered you all here because you were all implicated in Mr. Body's dastardly blackmail. Surely you must have deduced that the others were involved too.
What others?
The cook and Yvette.
No!
That's how he got all his information. In order for Mr. Body to blackmail anyone, he first had to discover their guilty secret. The cook and Yvette were his accomplices. I
see. So, whoever knew the cook was involved killed her?
Yes.
Yes,
I know, because I was Mr. Body's butler, that the cook had worked for one of you.
Who?
You recognized Yvette, didn't you? Don't deny it!
What do you mean, don't deny? I'm not denying anything.
That's another denial!
All right, it's true. I knew Yvette. My husband had an affair with her, but I didn't care. I was jealous.
And you knew Yvette as well, didn't you?
Yes. She worked for me. One of my best girls, too. Besides me, of course.
And you recognized Yvette as well, didn't you, sir?
What are you suggesting?
It's already been established that you were one of Miss Scarlett's clients. That's why you were so desperate to get those negative photographs of you and Yvette in flagrante delito, remember?
Mr. Body threatened to send those pictures to my dear old mother. The shock would have killed her.
That would have been quite an achievement since you told us that Mommy's dead already. So he had the motive.
Yeah!
You all had a motive.
Oh, yeah. But when and where was Mr. Body killed?
Don't you see? Going back into the study with Yvette and Mr. Body on the floor, apparently dead, but one of us knows he's still alive. So, I revealed that I had been Mr. Body's butler, and that I had sent out the letters, and then we all realized there was only one person left in the house. See? By now she was dead. We set her down with our backs to the wall, and one of us slipped through that very same secret passage.
Again?
Of course. Back to the study. The murderer's in the secret passage. Meanwhile, Mr. Body, who had been on the floor, jumped up, and the murderer stretched out of the secret passage, picked up the candlestick. Mr. Body went out into the hall looking for an escape, and the murderer crept up and killed him.
Will you stop that?
No. And the murderer dragged him back down the hall and threw him into the toilet. Then, nonchalantly rejoined us by the kitchen. The whole thing took less than half a minute.
So who wasn't with us the whole time in the kitchen?
Whoever it was is the murderer.
Smells like somebody died in there.
Then, we all went back into the study, took the weapons, locked them into the desk, went out into the hall, opened the door, and the motorist. I didn't throw the key away, I put it in my pocket. And one of you must have taken it from my pocket and substituted another.
But we were all in a huddle. Any one of us could have done that.
Precisely!
Wait a minute. Colonel Mustard has a top secret Pentagon job. Mrs. White's husband is a nuclear physicist, and Yvette is a link between them.
What is your top secret job, Colonel?
I can tell you. He's working on the secret of the next fusion bomb.
How did you know that?
Can you keep a secret?
Why, yes.
So can I.
I begin to see how it's done.
Was it a plot between the Wadsworth, or did Colonel Mustard do it alone?
We'll see. Let's look at the other murders.
Yes, it was unfortunate and unlucky that motorist, that he arrived at that moment.
It wasn't luck. I invited him.
You did?
Of course, it's obvious.
It is?
Everyone who is here tonight was either Mr. Body's victim or accomplice. Everyone who has died supplied him with vital information about one of you. I invited them all here so we could extract a confession from Mr. Body and turn him over to the police.
Oh, yeah? What kind of information did the motorist have?
He was my driver during the war.
And what sort of information was he holding over you? Or do I have to tell them?
He knew that I was a war profiteer. I stole essential Air Force radio spare parts and sold them on the black market. That's how I made all my money. But that doesn't make me a murderer.
A lot of our airmen died because the radios didn't work. Oh, now, was the policeman working for Mr. Body, too?
The cop was from Washington. He was on my payroll. I bribed him once a week so I could carry on with business. Oh.
telegram girl?
She was my patient once. I had an affair with her. That's how I lost my license. Mr. Boyd found out about that too.